Hey, clinicians in private practice, it's Jo, and I'm back with another episode of This is Private Practice, coming to you live from Purple Co HQ. As many of you will know, I was away on retreat last week, and it's been a busy few days. And I didn't know if this video was going to happen today. We've had all sorts of problems with internet accessibility and telecommunications today, which I find quite amusing because the whole start of this series, this video series of This is Private Practice, was me ranting about the crap that I was receiving from our predominant telco here in Australia, Telstra. So yeah, they just couldn't make phones work or 3G work or 4G work today for a period of time anywhere. So yay, that's not helpful. But we're back on board and we're back online, and I've been able to make and receive phone calls today because that was something that wasn't happening, and I've been able to connect with people, and I am working on keeping my anxiety levels down when it comes to checking my inbox. So what I wanted to chat to you about today was re-entry after you've been to an event or you've been to a conference or you've been to a workshop. Because there's a couple of things that tend to happen if you're not prepared for it. And one is that you come home and you're so completely overwhelmed by all of the things that you think you have to do now that you do nothing. So all of the great intentions that you had from your conference or your workshop or your training, that they just fly out the door. One day you'll get back to it. One day you'll get back to it. One day. Well, if you don't schedule it, one day you won't get back to it because it'll just get put off by the urgency of everything else that turns up. So I knew to plan time for myself to reflect on what had gone on for me over the last few days. And what's really interesting for me in this last few days being around different women who own businesses that are very different to mine, in a very different industry to mine, some have been in business for a lot longer than me, some have built a business very different to mine. And what I love about that is having people in my world that can help me think differently. Because I do believe that if we just speak to health professionals about health professional stuff, we're going to become very insular and myopic, and we will miss the opportunities that we have. Hey, Jen, lovely to see you. Jen, can you please pencil in your diary? You really want to come to that retreat next year, if there is space. So for me, watching people take down their to-dos and what you need to do and what they want to do when they get back and all the to-dos they have to do, which for me, the whole 4 days was paring back. What do I need to let go of? What do I need to stop doing? It felt like every time I opened my mouth, people were going, I need someone to help me with this, or I need somebody to help me with that. And I'd be going, oh, that's what we do. Oh, that's what we do. Oh, that's what we do. And at one stage, one of the gorgeous women in the group turned around and said, is there anything you just don't do? And it made me stop and go, wow, we just because I can doesn't mean we should. And we spend so much time talking about our ideal client, which I've got a blog coming up about that this week. And that exercise is important, but it's being misrepresented. Let me just explain that to you. But we spend so much time talking to our ideal client and about our ideal client. What has occurred for me in my business is that I've let go of our central message. Well, I probably haven't. I've just been too bogged down in the tactics of all the minutiae of what we can do that it's really hard for people to understand what it is we do and how they can refer people to us to help us, let us help their friends or their colleagues or their employees or people that they know. And I know that's not a great message to have, and that's not a great marketing tactic. So for me, it was about paring back. What have I got to give up? What have I got to stop doing? And when you've done something the same way for a really long period of time, doesn't matter whether it's not serving you anymore, it's really hard to give it up. So there's a few things that I have to stop doing, and there's a couple of things that I need to say no to, and I have to work out what they are and how I'm going to do that. And it feels really uncomfortable because I feel like I'm going to be letting people down. I feel like I'm going to be not keeping promises that I've made. I'm going to feel like people won't like me anymore. But I cannot continue to build a business that doesn't represent who we serve. And I cannot continue to build a business at the expense of my own health and wellness and longevity. And that's just the plain truth of the day. So if there's anyone out there watching this video today who thinks that they may be overcommitted, then can we have a real discussion about that? Because overcommitment, I think, is just as paralyzing as people who don't take any action. Overfunctioning or hyperfunctioning is just as insidious and just as detrimental or disabling as people who can't take any action because they're paralyzed. So we need to find ways to make this behavior less disabling and healthy so that we can feel fulfilled. Because flexibility is one thing and having a sense of freedom is another thing. But at the end of the day, I want to feel fulfilled in what I do. So that's my intention for this week. My intention for this week is to think of one thing and to make a plan for that one thing that we're actually going to start minimizing and reducing and saying no to. So that's scary. I don't know what that is yet. I don't know what that looks like yet, but it's coming. And if any of my Purple Coat team members are watching, it's not you. So nobody needs to be scared of anything. There's a whole heap of stuff going on under the surface of the water that people don't know about. That's where I need to start. And that's what I'll be doing. So we've got another week ahead of us. I'd love to know what your intentions are. What do you want Friday to hold for you? When we have our celebration on Friday, what do you want to be celebrating? How do you want to feel at the end of this week? Who are you going to take care of this week? And how are you going to take care of yourself this week? Share with me how that's going to happen. I don't have any travel booked this week. I don't have to go to the city for anything. I am so excited that I just get to be at home and get to be paced in the way I do things. Because I'm still learning that even in my sense of not being as committed, I am still overcommitted. And that's something that needs to be fixed. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you my week this week. I've got book writing time plugged in. I'm going to start working weekly with my editor, Kelly. I've got a third of my book written. Holy crapola, Batman. Yes, I do feel like it's not good enough and that I can't share it with anybody, but apparently that's normal. So I'm looking forward to working on it some more and being able to move through the processes and deal with all the self-doubt that comes along with it as well. So here's to a make it happen kind of week, but to do it with the empathy and compassion that we need to be showing ourselves. Okay, I am so glad I'm home. I am so glad to be back with the things that matter to me around me. Great to have been able to step out of my world for a few days. Geez, it's nice to come home, isn't it? All right, this is Private Practice, and I look forward to talking to you later this week.